and welcome back to another episode of Quick Spin, the Autoweek podcast that dives into the essence of the automobile. Today, we are talking about the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. You can check out this Ford Bronco Sport on our Instagram page right now. That's at Autoweek USA. And while you're there, you can also swing by our Facebook page to make sure you get all the great Autoweek content we deliver daily. We're going to dive deep into this Bronco Sport in just a second with the great Joe Brown. But before that, we have to pay the bills. Our friends at Road and Trek have some big news to share. The premium lifestyle magazine for the automotive enthusiast is now fully loaded. Become a member of the Trek Club and receive 6 supersized double issues a year, plus access to digital content, dozens of partner privileges, exclusive invites to editorial events, and first dibs on insider automotive events both online and around the world. Hop on in by visiting roadandtrack.com/join. That's ROADANDTRACK.com/JOIN. And Joe, tell me a little bit about this Ford Bronco Sport.
So here's what I have to say about the Ford Bronco Sport. It's been a week. I missed that little truck, I have to say. I live in sort of like lower upstate New York, near like kind of halfway between Albany and New York City, in a really rural area. And you see a lot of crossovers. And you know, you see a lot of crossovers everywhere right now, but it's interesting because this was definitely the truckiest crossover I've driven. And you kind of need it on the roads around here, depending on which roads you take, because, you know, if you have a low ground clearance car or, you know, you're allergic to potholes, you should not come to this area. What else do you want to know about the Bronco Sport? I did a little walk around audio for you.
Now, that's what we call in the business a seg. What you did, take some time out of your day and record a little bit of walk around. We're going to go to that right now.
You hear that? That is the sound of Ford's 2-liter EcoBoost engine, producing 250 turbocharged horsepower, and it is also the sound of money. Because I'm walking around now the Ford Bronco, 2021 Ford Bronco Sport to be specific. Let me close the hood here. And they are going to sell a metric ass load of those things. Listen to this thing tick, 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 tick. Sounds honestly not good, but it's a great little engine. So we have the Badlands package, which is the 4th highest package of the Bronco Sport. And from the outside, it looks awesome. This thing actually draws a ton of attention as I drive it. I can get honked at daycare. People are like, what is that? So the Badlands package has bash plates. It's got these awesome, like, matte steel-looking wheels that are actually aluminum wheels. And it's wearing these Falcon Wild Peak tires that are a little bit all-terrainy. It's got off-road suspension. And it's got the twin-clutch rear diff that allows you to be a little bit more aggressive off-road. Opening up the trunk now. You can actually do one of my favorite car things and open up the glass on the tailgate. Or you can open up the door on the tailgate. Pretty good room in the back, and it's got this rubberized trunk lining. Not the most spacious trunk I've ever seen, but we have one of those like juggernaut baby strollers in there, and there's room for a bunch of groceries and stuff too. There are tie downs. There is a 110 volt AC outlet, 12 volt outlet in the back. Turn the lights on and off. Pretty good. Close, satisfying. And now I'm going to get in and we're going to go for a drive.
So I don't know. There's something very agricultural about the Bronco Sport that I really appreciate. Like when you're driving it, it is not refined. Like it's definitely, like I said, the truckiest of the crossovers I've driven. It feels good on rutty roads. It feels good on gravel. On the highway, not awesome. It's not like, you know, the sort of car-based crossovers that I think a lot of us are used to. And the engine doesn't bother me. I mean, like, don't rev it at the stoplight, right? Like, this is not going to work out. But I kind of appreciate the fact that it's just like, that's what the engine sounds like, whatever. And as you know, I also own a pickup truck. And like, as somebody who owns a truck, that's very much the kind of thing where you're just like, This is whatever. This is what the engine sounds like. This vehicle is made to do things. And that was sort of the overwhelming sense you get from the Bronco Sport, is that it does a lot of stuff very well. It's not it's not the most premium vehicle you're ever going to find. It's not the most intense off-roader. I mean, the Bronco that's coming, late summer next year is maybe more along those lines, but it feels very practical. It feels very like it's very much the crossover for people who like trucks. I will say one thing that struck me about it, I did not love the seats.
I think we call this in the business another fantastic segue, because I believe I caught your experience in this in real time. And by I think you caught your experience with this while you were on the drive. And we're going to go to that right now.
First thing I noticed when I got into this car is the seats are super narrow, which I don't get it. Like I'm not a big guy. I'm like 5'7", 160 pounds. 32-inch waist, and I'm edge to edge on these seats. I'm just going to back out of my driveway here. It's a very long driveway, so I'm going in reverse. Got pretty good visibility out the rear, honestly. It's got pretty good visibility in general. It's boxy. It kind of reminds, I was talking to Bob Sorokanich at Road and Track, and he said it reminds him of the first generation Escape, and I don't have a lot of experience in the first generation Escape except as a taxi, but it does kind of remind you of that shape-wise. It's got awesome forward visibility, especially now as it seems like windshields are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You can really see out of this thing. You get a pretty commanding view of the road, and it feels a lot bigger inside than it does look on the outside. All right. I'm about to make a turn onto the road. I'm going to goat mode it into sport. Because why not? It's the Bronco Sport. So the thing that I was most impressed by, and still am most impressed by with the Bronco Sport, is this electric adjustable sensitivity steering. It has some kind of marketing term. But what is awesome about it is, in a car that comes in, and this car outfitted with the cloth seats, the Badlands package, the co-pilot stuff, which is the driving assist stuff, is about $35,000. I have not driven a $35,000 crossover that has steering whose sensitivity adjusts as you change driving modes. Usually on an inexpensive car, the driving modes just changes, like maybe fuel map and then where the transmission shifts. This thing has 7 driving modes. They're called GOAT modes, and they're actually super impressive, because in addition to changing the sort of engine and handling characteristics, they do change, like I said, the steering characteristics. It is wet out, so I'm going to GOAT mode it into slippery, which completely changes the characteristics of the car. You get a lot less power, and the steering gets a lot less sensitive. So you can see the engineers thinking, well, now you're not going to overcorrect while you're driving on ice and end up in the ditch. The steering is a lot looser. Everything feels a lot less responsive, which is what you want. Let me GOAT mode again into eco mode, which is another one that I think people probably end up using a lot, more than like mud and ruts. Eco mode gets the steering a little bit lighter, and than sport anyway. It's sort of normal steering, but you can see it's trying to keep the revs down a little bit. I really like the fact that the steering changes. I probably can't say that enough. What I wish, though, is that I could go into like eco mode and change the steering sensitivity to what it is in sport mode, because the car feels a lot better for me, that heavier, more direct steering. Coming around a big bend, there is somebody waving at me. Hello, yes, it's the Bronco Sport. It's kind of crazy that a $35,000 car is attracting this much attention.
A lot to unpack from that little drive. People staring and waving, not common with entry-level crossovers.
No. I mean, I have driven a lot of cars to daycare. I've driven a Polestar. I've driven a Bentley. I've driven an AMG CLA 45. I can't even remember. I've driven a lot of cool cars to daycare, and nobody gives a damn. Like, just like they're like, let me get my kid into daycare so I can go have a cup of coffee, which is parenting. That is life. But with the Bronco, it like drew a crowd, and I'm like, it's the Bronco Sport.
You know this isn't the big off-roader, right? You don't need to wave right now.
It's kind of brilliant marketing, right? Because like when the big Bronco comes out, it's gonna blow their damn minds.
I think it will, but let's be very clear. Just because this is a baby Bronco doesn't mean it can't go off paved roads, as you recorded a little special off-road treat, which we're going to jump to right now.
I'm on a seasonal road. You can kind of feel my voice shaking as I drive on this thing. Seasonal road, which is closed because it's December, and I'm testing out the GOAT modes, mud and rut functionality, and mud and ruts are what we have. So you can already feel, feels like compared to sport mode, the power is down again, and obviously you don't want to overwhelm loose traction because you just spin your tires. I'm going to go back to sport mode just to see what it's like. Yeah, so sport mode obviously has a lot more power and the steering is heavier. And then mud and ruts, you've got, it feels a lot like slippery mode. Four-wheel drive is locked though on this one, whereas slippery mode is not. I believe the differential is locked. No, it's not. It's just four-wheel drive. You know, I'm definitely drifting a little bit as because the road surface is so slippery, but the car feels pretty good. I'm probably going a little bit too fast, honestly, for this, which is nothing. No four-wheel drive can save you from something like that.
If there's a young person in your life who's really into cars, give them the gift of R&T Crew, the ultimate subscription box by Road and Track for kids ages 6 to 10. Every other month, a box is delivered to their door and is stuffed with cool accessories, fun activities, and a magazine chock full of facts, stories, games, and more. Sign up now and receive the all-new Crushin' It issue and enter the code Autoweek for 10% off an annual box subscription. Just head to rtcrew.com, that's rtcrew.com, and use the code AUTOWEEK. Now we're getting to the hard question. On a quick spin, we try to get to the essence of the automobile. And
I'm ready.
This is not an easy task. Mr. Brown, what is the essence of the Ford Bronco Sport? What's its raison d'etre?
It's a trucky crossover, and that's it. Like, it is a crossover for people who lean more towards trucks than they do towards cars, and they're going to use their vehicle in that way.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. It kind of sounds like a throwback to the days of the two-door Explorers and Mazda Navajos that rolled out of the Ford factories, the gnarly off-roaders that also, you know, did kindergarten duty.
Yeah, I can totally. I'm stoked for this thing to be 20 years old too, because when you start seeing what the aftermarket is going to do on these cars, in addition to the factory supported stuff, like in the year 2041. What are people going to be doing to these Bronco Sports with like 5-inch lift kits and some kind of like DIY electric assist? They're a great canvas for that kind of thing.
Sitting on 35s and a pair of Rockwells underneath them.
Heck yeah.
No, that is promising. I didn't even think about that angle. It's hard sometimes to look at the future of these crossovers and see that they are going to be maybe the XJs of the future. But I think this is a great place to put a pin in it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Brown, thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear about the Bronco Sport. Don't forget to head over to the Apple Podcast Store, wherever you get this bad boy, and drop a little 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing. And also, again, I know I just said this a few seconds ago, but without your listenership, none of this could be possible. So thank you for listening.